The second thing the knights like are to be in the center where they're protected and higher up the board. And the easiest way to explain this is how many squares can the knight on the left see? It can see 2 squares. So how many squares can the knight in the middle see? Is it more? Is it less? Let's see. It can see more squares. It can see 8. So which knight is better? The one in the corner or the one in the middle? They're both worth 3 points, but the one in the middle is better because it can see more squares. So we want the knights in the middle because they're more useful as they see more squares. So where do the knights want to be? They want to be closer to the middle because the further they are away from the middle, the less squares they see. If we could put this knight on the left side of the board, anywhere on the board, to an empty square where there's no pieces on it, which square should we go to? Well, this is a pretty good square for the knight because it sees more squares on the opponent's side of the board, and it's more valuable because it's in the center and higher up the board. It's protected by a pawn and it's not being attacked by any white pieces that are worth less than the knight. Remember, the knight is worth 3 points. And this is what happens to the evaluation if we could move the knight to the center of the board. So try and find the best square for this knight to go. Remember, it can go to any square on the board that doesn't have a piece on it. We should go here because it's protected by a pawn, it's higher up the board, it's in the center, and it's attacking a lot of squares in the opponent's side of the board. In the game, how do we get the knight to that square? There's 2 main ways. Perfect. We move up to the right and then to the best square on the board for the knight. And that's the start of making a plan. First, we need to know where the knight wants to be. It wants to be in the center, protected, higher up, and not being attacked by any pieces. Once we know that, then we need to figure out how to actually get there. That's how we improve our position and improve our pieces in the middle game. And that's the start of making a plan. So try and find the best square for this knight to go. Remember, it can go anywhere on the board. Perfect. It should go there because it's protected by a pawn, it's higher up the board, it's close to the center, and it's attacking a lot of squares in the opponent's side of the board. So if we could get the knight to that square, it would go from plus 0.1 to black to 1.6 for black. We would get 1.5 points just by moving the knight to that square. So we've got a bonus, the outpost square. It's when that knight is protected and no piece worth less than the knight can attack it. So the only piece that's worth less than 3 points are the pawns. And the pawns to the left and right can never attack the knight because the pawns can't go backwards. That's called an outpost square. So to quickly recap, we want to be in the center to see more squares in the opponent's side of the board. And if we're on the edge, the knight can't see many squares.